I understand. Here's the rewritten dramatic monologue script with no headers, no timestamps, just the story itself. They say family is supposed to be your safety net. But the night I was rushed into a hospital gown, staring at the ceiling tiles above me, I realized mine was nothing but thin-aired. I had a tumor inside me, cancer, the doctors said. They needed to cut it out immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. But instead of comfort, instead of love, the first words I heard over the phone were, "We can't cancel Adele. That would ruin your sister's year." My mother's voice, sharp, dismissive, the same tone she'd used to shrink me my whole life. And behind her, my father muttering about me always being dramatic. I wasn't asking for much. Just a few hours. Just enough time for someone, anyone, to watch my twin baby girls. 8 months old, still fragile, their entire world made up of my heartbeat and my arms. The idea of leaving them with strangers while I went under anesthesia terrified me, but my parents couldn't be bothered. They had concert tickets. They had plans. I lay there gripping the cold bed rail, my body trembling, not just from the fear of surgery, but from something darker. Abandonment. All my life, I'd been their safety net. Every month, I sent money to keep them afloat. Groceries when their fridge was empty. A down payment for my sister's car. Credit card bills that just got out of hand. Rent money when she was between jobs. Year after year, dollar after dollar, sacrifice after sacrifice. I thought that meant something. I thought it meant that when I finally, desperately needed them, they'd be there. But when I said the word cancer, my mother sighed and snapped, "Well, maybe you should have thought of this before having babies without a father." That was it. No comfort. No promise to come. Just judgment. Just excuses. Just distance. I stared at the ceiling tiles, counting their tiny holes to keep from screaming. I realized, in that sterile room, that the tumor wasn't the only thing poisoning me. My family was. It had always been this way. My sister, adored for her mistakes, forgiven before she even asked. Me, invisible in my achievements. When she dropped out of college, they cheered her for finding herself. When I graduated top of my class, they barely noticed. When they almost lost their house, I emptied my savings to save it. When I decided to have my children on my own, through IVF, their first concern wasn't my health. It was whether I'd still be able to send them money. They loved what I provided. Not me. The surgeon came in. "We're ready to begin," he said. "Do you have childcare arranged?" I lied. I told him yes. But what I really had was an overpriced emergency babysitter and an elderly neighbor who had shown me more compassion in 1 hour than my parents had in a lifetime. The surgery went well. The tumor was gone. But the hole left behind had nothing to do with medicine. That night, groggy and alone, I picked up my phone, praying for a message. A simple "Are you okay?" from the people who raised me. Nothing. What I did get were videos from my sister. Smiling selfies. Her outfit for the concert. My parents in the background, laughing, clapping, living their night of joy while I lay sliced open and stitched back together. And in one of those videos, my mother's voice cut through, "She'll be fine. She always is." That was the moment something inside me broke. Or maybe it finally healed. The next morning, I went home. I held my daughters in my arms, their tiny hands reaching for me, their smiles unbothered by the storm that had ripped through my heart. And I made a decision. I opened my laptop, canceled the automatic transfers that had been draining my account for years, and blocked every number that had ever demanded more of me than they gave. It felt like freefalling. But also like flying. Of course, they noticed. Of course, they came knocking. My sister first, standing in the hallway with tears streaking her face. "Dad lost his job. They're going to lose the house. You can't abandon us now." Her words twisted in my chest. For a second, the old instinct rose up, to rescue, to fix, to bleed myself dry again. But then I remembered. The hospital bed. The silence. The concert. "I needed you," I told her, voice shaking but firm. "And you chose music over my life." She called me selfish. Dramatic. The same words my parents had weaponized against me for years. But for once, I didn't bend. I closed the door later. My parents came themselves. Knocking softly, calling out, promising they loved me, demanding I stop acting like a child. Their voices carried through the door as I bathed my daughters, as I listened to the splashes and giggles that reminded me what love really looked like, and for the first time, I chose silence. I let them knock. I let them plead. I let them leave, because here's the truth I had to almost die to see: love isn't proven by words shouted through a locked door. It isn't earned by endless sacrifice. Real love shows up. Real love stays. Real love holds your hand when you're scared and says, "I've got you." My daughters will know that kind of love. Because I will give it. Because I will model it. And because I will never again confuse obligation with devotion. I used to think I was losing a family. Now I see I've gained freedom. And in that freedom, I found the most unshakable truth: the only people I owe my life to are the two little souls who call me mom.